Hi, this is Bill Safer, and welcome to another episode of Hidden Treasures. I will be your host, and we're coming to you from WCCA TV, located in downtown Worcester. Before I get to my very special guest, I would like to do a few shout-outs, as we call them, or hellos. I want to say hello to Arlene Finns, the founder of Small Precious Things. She handmakes beautiful items of jewelry, often inspired by her sculptures she also creates. I would like to also say hello to the people who make this show possible. Mauro Di Pasquale, the executive director, Tracy Pasquale, station manager, Frank Rocco, our director and engineer, Zara, John, and all the great staff here at WCCA. Plus our viewers. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Okay, now I'm trying to figure out a special way to introduce him, but he's too famous, I'll just have to. I want to introduce Wayne Tuiskula, who's been on the show a number of times, and he was an appraiser for the appraisal day that we had a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you, Bill. Nice to be back.
Always a pleasure. I always remember that appraisal day because you were getting the sculptures and the painting, and I was getting the glasses with the nude women, and the other gentleman was getting the old porno magazine. So yeah, that was memorable.
Yeah, no, I drew the long straw that day.
Yeah, so, okay, Wayne, now for our viewers, even though you've been on before, people still, I'm sure, haven't heard about auctions or what they do. So what's the name of your business?
We're Central Mass Auctions.
Okay, and located in Worcester?
Yeah, we're in Worcester. I have an office in Boston now as well, but we run the auctions primarily in Worcester.
Okay, and if people have something they think, first of all, you have a Facebook page?
Yeah, we do, yeah. It's facebook.com/Central Mass Auctions, and the Boston one is just /Boston Central Mass Auctions.
Okay, and do you have a regular website?
We do, centralmassauctions.com.
Okay, and a phone number that someone wants to call?
508-612-6111.
Great. Okay, now I'll start off for the viewers because people are unfamiliar. You conduct auctions, which is you sell antiques and collectibles to the general public at auction, whatever the auction price is.
Correct.
If someone has items that they think are valuable and they don't know what to do, how do they go about arranging for that?
A lot of times people will email me and they have things they're interested in knowing about, or I might get a phone call, and I try to see if it's something that might be a good fit for us. Some things, I know you've spoken about on the show before, the market's just not great for used furniture is one thing, so we may not be able to help them in that case. For auction anyway, we also run online auctions and estate sales, so maybe that's another option, or I just may refer them somewhere else. But I think the best way is to describe things and then send me pictures, and that's a good way to get started.
Oh, excellent, because I happen to think that auctions are the best way to sell things. And that leads me to a question about what do you think drives the price of some items skyrocketing past the retail value into the heavens, where other things that were expected to be expensive didn't get a bid or got a little bit of money. So.
Yeah, people's tastes change. Sometimes it's just the people in the room. There are some things that surprise us that take off. Where just two people really want the piece. There have been times where someone just wasn't going to put their bid card down at the auction until they got it. So that as an auctioneer, that's always good to see. But then there are some things. Finding a lot of larger things, especially, market can be kind of tough for. People don't want to move bigger things, and but a small thing, jewelry, coins, never seems to be a problem with getting strong prices.
Yeah, I got a bargain. I went to an auction one time years ago, and I went to the preview, and Before I start that, will you tell the viewers what a preview is for an auction?
Sure. Yeah, it's a time that the auctioneer specifies for people to inspect everything. So you get an opportunity to see things that you're interested in, look for any defects, and we can run different times. Some will run 2 days. We typically run 3 to 6 before our live auctions.
Excellent. And you should take that opportunity to view on the preview, because some items, I mean, auctions are big, and some items you don't know if there's a little crack in the plastic. So you have, remember, once you bid on the item and you win, as Wayne's told me, that's it, it's yours. And that's why the preview. So I went, and there was a box of military items, and I looked and I said, you know, there's 2 medals in there that are worth like $40 by themselves and other things. So when the bidding time came, it said the opening bid is $5. I put up my card. Do I hear $10? $10. Nobody. You get it for $5, and so you can get a bargain at an auction. People will say, "Oh, there's no bargains at auctions." Yes, there is bargains at auctions.
There are, and I tell consigners that it's better to give us if they give us a large amount of things, they're going to typically see a couple things that they would have expected more for, and a couple things that are going to shock them because it went so high. But if they have enough things, it's all going to average out, and they're going to see they get a fair price.
It's the best way to sell. I still believe that. I had an example of a friend of mine had a collection of 300 Yadro figurines. And this is some years back, and his mother worked at Jordan Marsh, used to buy every one. So the auctioneer told me, Bill, they don't want these anymore. If they go for $5 a piece, you'll be lucky. Mm-hmm. So I told the guy, and he says, I don't care, I want them out of the house. It seems that the Vermont collectors of Yadro took a bus group down.
Oh, wow.
And each figurine went from $60 to $80. So the estimated price for him was to get 1,000, he got 6,000.
That's great. We had a similar thing with Hummels. They're also in the same category where people aren't buying them as much. But we had a New Hampshire group come down for ours as well, and it helped to boost prices.
So now, could you tell us the process from, just a brief process of, from the time someone brings something into you until it's auctioned? What happens?
Okay, so now we have, next auction is August 29th, so we're collecting things now. People will either drop things off, I'll go to an estate and pick things up. We have a consignment form, and we mark down everything that we take, and there's a duplicate copy, so the client gets a copy, and they'll know exactly they'll have a record of what we took. Then we catalog it. We'll put pictures on the web, especially the most important things, so it'll be well promoted. Run all of our ads. Put it on the Facebook pages and everywhere else.
So you do heavy advertising?
We do, and we've got an email list of over 6,000 people who have attended in the past,
Wow.
so they get an email blast. And so we'll do everything we can to promote it. Then on auction day, I'll have a scribe who sits next to me. She'll record what everything's sold for. It gets entered into the computers, and then afterwards, within 3 weeks, we send them a check, and it has the breakdown of what everything sold for. Some people like to attend the auctions,
Yes.
Others don't, so they may have actually seen what they sold for, but if not, they'll get the record at the end.
Oh, excellent. So it basically is not a 1 or 2 year process. It happens rather fast.
It does, yeah. We try to pay even quicker, try to always beat the 3-week period we set up and try to pay people sooner.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Whenever I attend an auction, I'm amazed at what people will buy and how some people, like you say, will not put down that card if they want it. Now, you were kind enough to bring some things, Wayne. Let's talk about those. You always have interesting things.
I like to bring things with some local history. So there's one, and so this, I happened to be in Brimfield, and I was going through the fields, and it was a dealer, I think from Marlborough area, who had that, and wanted $25, which seemed fair, but I recognized I thought I recognized the building. I wasn't 100% sure. But when I got it back, I took a ride down Woodland Street in Worcester, and it turned out to to be the old fire station here in Worcester on Woodland Street, and that building, the little house on the to the left of it, is still there.
That's amazing, and I get a kick out of the cars.
Yeah, no, yeah, the fighters are in the vehicles there, and their plates are from the 1910s.
Oh, those vehicles are firefighting vehicles?
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
yeah, people are in uniform inside there.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a pretty interesting photo.
No wonder all the houses burnt down by the time they got those cars there. We've come a long way, though, right?
We have, yeah. It might have been a pumper engine putting them
Yeah,
out back then.
but that was the state of the art at the time.
Exactly.
And some other interesting things.
So here's a double-sided, I think this is the better side, sign that I found. I don't really go to estate sales too often or yard sales because I stay busy enough in estates now, but
Right.
I happened to be driving by one and saw a sign and got pulled in, and so it had been going on a good part of the day, but they were still pulling things out from up above the garage, and they came down with this, and I liked it. It has looks like a 40s vintage car there, and it's all local. It's a Worcester County Used Car Dealers Association, and being double-sided, I just liked the sign and bought it.
I mean, anybody that collects antiques, even if you don't collect this type of thing, your eye is going to go right to it.
Yeah,
You know, it's and it's good that it was still there when you went in.
Yeah, I was lucky. They were just pulling it down from above the garage, coming down the stairs, and I asked the price and was able to pick it up. And I like display pieces, like you mentioned, like eye catchers, things you can hang on your wall, and advertising signs are always popular with collectors.
Well, it's funny that I was talking with someone the other day, and they say Cracker Barrel has antique agents that scour the countryside, flea markets, antique shops, for signs like this that they hang up in the restaurants.
Oh yeah, no, it's always fun to go in there. So
Be careful when you're having pancakes. Don't let them hijack you and get the sign.
I won't bring it in there, I promise you.
Okay. Thank you. That's beautiful.
And here's the last one, and this is one that I brought when I met with the Worcester Red Sox and showed them some of my baseball memorabilia. And so there were, we had some pro teams in Worcester and semi-pro teams, but what I'm very interested in is some of the industrial league teams. And this isn't really an industrial league team because it was Worcester Bank and Trust, but there were a lot of companies that I had teams. I have one from I've had one from Norton's and Osgood Bradley, who did the dining cars and the railroad cars. So they had teams that they put together. So these are something that some people might think are nothing special, but when I see them, they typically run for $50.
It's a piece of history.
It is, yeah, and you can buy them for $50 typically, and I've collected a few of these.
Yeah, you've brought some in before, baseball memorabilia, and especially now in Worcester with the upcoming construction of the stadium for the Red Sox minor league team.
Right.
I bet baseball collectibles will start to rise in Massachusetts.
I think so. I think it's going to bring. That'll be one of the side effects. We got to be a lot of other businesses that gain because of it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see local baseball memorabilia become more important. And I'm planning to loan them a lot of objects I have related to Worcester baseball.
You were in a big article I saw, and they mentioned that you were going to do that. That's very nice.
Yeah, I know. Excited to have them come here. It'll be. I think it's going to be a great park and a great opportunity for Worcesters.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. Now, I wanted to ask you, I went through a couple of collectible crazes in my time. There was the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Okay.
I mean, the Cabbage Patch dolls.
Right.
And I actually was working security at the time, a police detail at Zayre's, and there were two grandmothers beating each other up to get the last one. I mean, literally, I had to get between them and say, what's going on here,
Right.
And the police showed up because other people were saying that she saw it first and they saw it first. And then you go to the Beanie Babies, and when they announced that, whether it was a gift shop or a card store, they would announce, we have the new shipment of Beanie Babies tomorrow at 10. The line would be half a mile long.
Yeah.
And Beanie Babies were going upwards over $1,000 for some models. My sister had one, the Princess Diana, at an auction. She gave it to me. I put it on and sold for $550.
Wow.
Now, all those Beanie Babies are still at the flea markets for $1,
Right.
for 50 cents. So it's like the guy that invented, I was reading the other day, the pet rock. This guy made like $4 million, and now if you find a pet rock, you might as well just throw it in the lake because that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
What do you think accounts for these almost manias that happen with things?
Yeah, people get excited and they see the rising prices, I think. So they see that they bought that Beanie Baby for $2 and now it's worth $25, and it encourages them to buy more. But it's usually a short-lived cycle with those and the Cabbage Patch dolls, and it bottoms out. And like you said, right now you can go buy most of them for $1 somewhere.
Yeah, and what happens is you end up with, I know people that ended up with 50, 100 Beanie Babies, and they said, this is my retirement. So I said, unless you're going to retire at the burned out friendlies, you better start saving some money because it's not going to be enough for retirement, you know. I see it last summer in Maine. Every single one of them was 50 cents.
Right.
You know, and they claim on the Beanie Baby site, which I don't believe, that there's still some worth 500 and 1,000. Yeah, and also the Pharaoh's going to come back and build a pyramid where Elm Park was. So that's about as much chance, you know. So, but I like when those crazes happen because sometimes, even though the craze is gone,
Right.
20 years later, if you come up with something like that medallion I was telling you about.
Right.
Yeah, I had a medallion I picked up for 50 cents, and it was talking about a psychic or paranormal medallion that's supposed to get its powers from the pyramids. And they were selling for $500, $400 at the time. I got it for 50 cents. I had no idea. I researched it, and I said, they had like 20 pages. Ended up getting $70 about for a 50-cent purchase.
The Pokemon cards are another thing that made a comeback for a while. You could pretty much just throw those away, you'd think.
Yeah.
But then another game came out, and the older ones started to have some value again.
Well, you know, it's always seems hot, Wayne, and you can verify this. Baseball cards, especially the old ones.
Yeah, I find anything 60s and earlier, baseball cards, comic books, we do very well with. But there can be some a lot newer. If you have the right Tom Brady rookie card, you could be looking at six figures.
So even for a relatively modern one.
Even for a relatively modern one, yeah, it's surprising, but they can bring that kind of money in. But it's the condition, of course. They get graded 1 to 10, and if you've got a 9.9, then you've got one of those valuable ones, right?
Now, I saw just on TV the other day, it's called Strange Inheritances, and this man's great-grandfather ran like a candy store, tobacco, and things like that, and he sold baseball cards, but what he used to do is always take the first box and put it away, and he did this for the whole time he had the store, hid it in the attic, behind some eaves, covered it with plastic. So the great-great-grandson found it in the attic, and it was all 1930s baseball cards. There were I think 5 Honus Wagner cards.
Wow.
And a lot of very, very valuable cards. So they were saying, and I want to ask you about this, if the market all of a sudden gets flooded with Honus Wagner cards, doesn't that bring the value down of the ones that are out there a little?
It can, yeah. In fact, there was one time someone had big group of baseball posters, and they tried to sell them one every year or so to try to stop that from happening. But that could very well happen.
Well, it's like I was told that De Beers, who's the kingpin and controls the diamond market, if they released all their diamonds at once, you could buy them for $10 a carat. So they spit out a few of the big ones and the little ones, and they control it, which is supposed to be illegal, being a monopoly, but they let it go because where else are people going to get diamonds?
Right.
You know, so I wanted to ask you about that too. Is it still happening? Because it happened to me a long time ago that people can find real platinum gemstone jewelry in amongst the junk of some of the fake jewelry?
Yeah, no, it definitely can happen. And I know you shared a story where you found some that one piece buried in with some other jewelry. But if you go to estate sales, sometimes people just take the jewelry and all the jewelry in the box and don't sort through it. And I've heard plenty of stories of people coming up with diamond rings. In fact, there was a story recently of a woman in England at call it a boot sale, yeah, who came walked away with a diamond that was multi-carat, and I think that was like six figures in pounds, was even more than dollars.
Amazing. Yeah. You know, there was a story at the Phoenix, Arizona rock show that they have every year. Miners come in their mining clothes, and what they dug out, it's usually dirty and everything. So there happened to be a gemologist there, and he bought 4 sapphires this was the smallest, and this was the biggest. The big one was valued at, I don't know, 5 million, 7 million. The other ones were a million. So everyone said, well, how did you feel that you got that from the miner who got, you know, a lot less money? Because he said he got $25, he paid him $100. So he said, listen, he said, when you go to any kind of a sale, what the person offers as the price is what you pay. Nobody's going to say, oh, I'll give you $500 for that. That's marked 50. He says, but I'm a human being, and that man is a miner, so I'm going to go back to him. And he did, and tell him what the fines were, and quadruple or even more than that, any other ones he finds and he gives to me exclusively. So he did the miner made about $1 million on future stones because he happened to hit a pocket of sapphires that were all golf ball size, which that doesn't happen.
That's a great story.
So, yeah, and have you ever had anybody at an auction disagree with what the item is? Like I said, that's not a Van Gogh or...
Yeah, I had one time someone wrote me about a cartoon that I had, a comic strip, and I think it was may have been Andy Capp, and so they said that this wasn't the artist who did it, and but because I claimed it was, but I had researched it, and so there was one who was more well known, but another one had done it, so I was perfectly right. So I got a couple of emails saying I was wrong, but showed them the link, and I didn't get any more emails after that. But so that happens.
Well, it's surprising, and sometimes people are stubborn. I was trading silver one time. I had some silver cigarette cases from England. And as you know, English hallmarks, it doesn't say silver.
Right.
It has figures, you know, a sideways lion is sterling, and an anchor is Birmingham, and another one is, so you can actually tell everything right up to the maker with the line of hallmarks. So I took 3 of them out, and I showed the dealer, and he said, oh, I've been doing this for 40 years. And he said, and I don't like to be taken. I said, taken? He says, that's not sterling. There's no sterling mark on it. I said, where were you for 40 years? In a cave in Pittsburgh? I said, this is the hallmarks for English silver. These are all solid sterling. He said, no, come on now. Don't try to kid me. So I said, okay, I'll be back next week with proof. So I went back the next week, and I had proof that said English sterling silver hallmarks, and the dates and the makers and the towns. He goes, wow. He said, you were right. I said, yeah, now you're going to take back all the other names you called me when I'm in front of everybody? So he said, well, it goes to show that you can always learn something. And I said, yeah, and it shouldn't take 40 years either. So, you know, it's people that, when I'm right, and I know I'm right, excuse me, I stick to my guns.
Yeah,
but if I don't know, if I say, I think this is a famous New England artist, and if someone there says, no, I recognize that, he's from West Virginia.
Right.
I said, oh, good. I said, thank you for enlightening me, because I didn't know. You know, that's how you learn, you know, and the best auctions I've ever been to is when the auctioneer holds up a box and he says, I don't even know what this stuff is, but we're starting the bid at $5. That's an interesting.
But Yeah, we all can learn. You know, this is a lifelong thing. You're not gonna know everything about every piece manufactured in every country since
No
the
one
beginning of
can,
time.
yeah.
So there are always things to learn. One other time, I was selling Roseville, but most of it is marked on the bottom. This was when Roseville was bringing better money,
Oh, yes, yeah.
but most of it is numbered, and this piece wasn't. It was an older piece, maybe from the 30s, and the person argued with me for half an hour that it wasn't, and then saw how much it brought at auction. I think finally realized it was Roseville.
I understand that in our own city here in Worcester, Norton Company was not always a maker of abrasives. They made crocks and pottery. And I understand they're pretty valuable if you find one in good condition. Is that true?
They are. And they're the ones that to look for are if they have a nice cobalt design on them. Sometimes you see a bird like a parrot; those are more desirable, and they're typically marked FB Norton, Worcester, Mass. on them, and it'll have a 3 if it's a 3-gallon jug or a crock, and that they also made some other pieces. There's one that looks kind of like a tree stump, and that's pretty.
That must be.
A desirable one. Yeah, they could bring close to $1,000. So
That's nice.
yeah, there's a lot of good local pieces.
Well, Wayne, as usual, we have come to the end of the show like a lightning bolt. Thank you for coming, and I appreciate it, and hope to have you on again. This is always interesting.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
This is Bill Safer coming to you from the studios of WCCA TV. Thank you for watching our program. We thank Wayne Tuiskula for being our guest. And go out and find a treasure, but first go out and find an auction. One of Wayne's. Thank you.